Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we will be focusing on the celebration of the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution, the revolution against the terrorist Brotherhood organization here in Egypt, for the favor of Egypt and for the favor or in favor of the Egyptians, as we did see in the past 8 years the results of this revolution in different aspects, on different levels, politically, economically, and even socially. And tonight we will be focusing on the economic aspect of the June 30th revolution, the results, the economic results of the June 30th revolution, building new cities, constructing new roads, new bridges, connecting the whole of Egypt and building new communities all over the country, to be having a new capital, to be having the economic reform program, the first parts of the economic reform program successfully implemented thanks to the courage and the honesty of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi with the Egyptians, and the Egyptians themselves accepting the idea of reform in terms of the economic reform program here in Egypt and the success of it. And this was the main topic, that is the main topic for tonight of the Daily Debate, the June 30th revolution and the economic aspect of it. But we will be starting straight away with the top story for today, which is the historic visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Iraq, the first in 30 years. The top story comes from the presidential activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi alongside Jordan's King Abdullah II and the Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi, who participated in a three-way conference on Sunday in the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. In his address, President al-Sisi stressed the significance of the visit to Iraq and the strength of ties among the three countries and their peoples. The president said that the meeting reflects the keenness on boosting and developing ties and sharing objectives that achieve the mutual interests. He reiterated that the historical gathering caps what has been achieved in the Cairo and Amman summits. The head of state expressed hopes that the meeting would be a launch for a new era of strategic partnership and strong cooperation to achieve the sustainable development and prosperity for Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq. The concluding statements of the conference stressed the importance of activating measures of achieving a fair and a comprehensive peace for the Palestinian people, which meets the legal rights, and to have an independent state, and its capital is Al-Quds, or Jerusalem. The meeting was part of the fourth round of the tripartite cooperation mechanism that started in March 2019. Earlier, an official reception was held upon President al-Sisi's arrival in the airport in Baghdad on Sunday, during which the president was received by the Iraqi President Barham Saleh. Presidential spokesman Bassem Radi said that during the talks that the president praised the strong and the historical ties binding the two countries, noting that Egypt is looking forward to expanding cooperation with Baghdad in a sustainable framework of the economic integration and the strategic partnership, especially in light of the current challenges facing the region, as well as the economic and the social crises brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. For his part, the Iraqi president hailed the successful Egyptian experience in implementing the developmental projects and the comprehensive economic reforms, as well as the efforts to fight terrorism and extremism through the educational, cultural, and the religious institutions. Radi also said that the meeting discussed the means of boosting ties and witnessed the discussions over regional and the international issues of mutual concern, and agreed on the importance of intensifying coordination over those issues during the upcoming period. Later in the day, President al-Sisi held a meeting with Jordan's King Abdullah II, during which they exchanged views over the latest regional developments and the Middle East peace process. The president asserted keenness on continuing consultation between Egypt and Jordan over those files with the strong historical relations binding the two countries. Al-Sisi also affirmed the Egyptian support to Jordan's development process and reiterated that the Jordanian kingdom's security is part of Egypt's national security. And to be shedding more light on the historic visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Baghdad and the meetings that took place between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Jordanian king and the Iraqi president and prime minister. I'm honored to be having with me over the phone Ambassador Mohamed Hegazy, the former assistant foreign minister. Thank you very much for being with us today on the Daily Debate.
My pleasure, Ahmed.
The pleasure is all mine, Mr. Ambassador. First of all, how would you see the shared interests between Egypt, Jordan and Iraq, especially that this is about the fourth meeting in the space of 2 or 3 years?
Thank you very much, Ahmed. I think this is one of the most important moments in the Arab common efforts to bring back links between Arab nations, particularly between Cairo and Baghdad. Of course, supported this tripartite conference is King Abdullah II of Jordan to create an area of cooperation. It is a quantum leap, a change of strategic nature, which will allow the three countries to integrate their economies and to move further into strategic and security arenas where many challenges can be better confronted if they are united. The renewed talk about the Grand Al-Sham or Levant between Egypt, Jordan and Iraq is a hope, a new hope and dream for Arab unity, particularly when capitals of the signature and magnitude of Baghdad and Cairo link hands together and pull efforts to move further the Arab unity. Baghdad for long has been away from the joint Arab efforts, and time has come for Baghdad to play its lawful role as an anchor of stability in the region, as a country that can provide the Arab unity a lot of pulses and support. I guess Egypt is pulling together the strings for Arab unity, which will motivate the region to stand firm against the intrusive interventions of certain regional powers, particularly Iran and Turkey, so that the Arab countries together can achieve their political unity, economic integration, and safeguard the national interest of the whole region against external and regional agendas, which has for long provide the region with many threats and actions of instability. I think what we are aiming at is economic integration. On the first place. We can talk about power grid connectivity, we talk about roadways, railways, and of course, as you know, maritime links between Egypt and Jordan. And Iraq has been with us for the past 4 or 5 decades. So we can dream of reuniting the Levant, and when we say the Levant, I mean the Grand Levant, that will include in the future Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine, I hope. Once we have agreed that Arab unity is an instrumental factor that has to be strengthened, I don't think that there is anybody but capitals of the strategic nature like Egypt or Cairo and Baghdad can pull the strings together. If we added to that Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf states can link also in an integrated approach to this very important gathering, then we can talk truly about the possibility of Arab unity if we added the Maghreb as well. I think Egypt, after stabilizing its internal affairs and moved on the 6 years of its, or 7th years of its revolution on the 30th of June.
Yes.
Can proclaim a region where Arab stability, Arab unity, Arab national security should prevail against those who have caused damage to the Arab countries over the past 2 decades. I guess that Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq will fulfill their promises towards their nations. They will unite together. They will integrate their economy. Of course, Egypt has the manpower, and of course, Iraq has the energy capability. Jordan also with a lot of expertise and modern economy. The three can motivate again the Arab unity. They can motivate again the Arab economic integration and can stimulate the field that we have lost over the years, where the regional powers like Iran and Turkey have intervened in the Arab affairs. And I guess that the Arab countries should help this unity so that we can talk truly about North Africa and the Levant bringing hands together, so that they can face challenges and they can achieve economic achievements. As I said, reconstruction will be also among the many important files that the three countries should look at, and I'm sure that Libya, Syria, Iraq needs a lot of Arab support, and I am sure that we can provide reconstruction to be fulfilled by Arab companies and Arab money.
Yes, Ambassador Hegazy, speaking exclusively about Egypt, the visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is the first such visit for an Egyptian president to Iraq. How do you see the importance of such a visit?
I said that Iraq is an anchor of stability, and Iraq is a key to Arab unity. For long, Iraq was left alone without any Arab approaches or support. And that was wrong, because it has caused Iraq to be alone in confronting the intrusive interventions of certain regional power, particularly Iran. So if we want Iraq back to the Arab courtyard so that they can together help each other, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Gulf countries, we have to come closer to Iraq. And Baghdad is mending fences now, and we have to link and to support the changes in Iraq so that we can bring Iraq back to the Arab courtyard, so together we can build our future. But leaving Iraq to confront the challenges enough that Iraq stood firm against terrorism and have confronted courageously this phenomena against the gangs of Daesh and those who have supported and financed this plug in the Arab region. And I'm sure that with Egypt mending fences with Iraq, and Iraq, when it is back to the Arab unity, no one can stop us from protecting the future of our region. I am sure that Egypt, or Cairo, Riyadh, Cairo, Baghdad, Cairo, Amman, and Cairo with Tripoli in Libya, I'm sure that we can together bring back the dreams of Arab unity, and we have to insist, because this is our future. And I'm sure, Ahmed, you agree with me that this is part of our national security. We have to believe that Arab unity is a matter of national security. When the early revolution of President Gamal Abdel Nasser came to power in 1952, the first thing he did is to ensure that the surrounding geography is liberated from colonialism, so that the new revolution is stable. And I'm sure this is exactly where we are in. Egypt, after stabilizing its internal affairs, is looking further to its region, where we have helped a lot in bringing in Libya to stabilize its situation and to move further into the political dimension. We played the same constructive role in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the Red Sea, and in Gaza, and the Palestinian issue was in good hands when Egypt intervened to stop the carnage caused by the Israeli attacks on Gaza.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, the Palestinian cause.
Now with a lot of hopes.
Yes, the Palestinian cause, as you've mentioned, was one of the main prominent talking points between the three sides and the three countries during the summit for today. How do you think the coordination economically and politically would be pushing forward the peace process between Palestine and Israel and calling for the two-state solution?
If you take my view, Ahmed, when you create such an economic integrated bloc, you also talk about harmonizing politics, and no issue needs to be diplomatically and politically and economically supported than the Palestinian issue. And I'm sure that unity will bring more support to the Palestinians. Iraq is what we call it a heavyweight Arab country, a country with history, with culture, with people, with resources. If it is in the Arab unity support, then we are moving to the right direction where we can support Palestine and we can, of course, secure the Jordanian internal affairs so that we can protect the region from the interventions, we can protect the region from conspiracies, and we can, of course, help our economies to move further and to help them to develop its capacity. And I'm sure that this is where we all have to pull our efforts towards a goal where Egypt and North Africa, along with the Levant and the Gulf states, can work together in an integrated manner so the Arab economy will flourish and the Arab companies will benefit from the reconstruction efforts, and politically, security and militarily we can work hand in hand for the stability of our region and to stop and to stand firm against the intrusive interventions of the powers I named early in my discussion.
Yes, and finally, Mr. Ambassador, as you mentioned, security, not just in Egypt, but for the region. It starts from Egypt, and terrorism and extremism was high on the agenda of talks for today for President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Jordanian King and the Prime Minister and the President of Iraq. Terrorism and extremism, how do you think we could be exchanging the expertise, especially from Egypt to Iraq, in terms of fighting terrorism, eradicating terrorism and extremism, not just militarily but culturally and through education as well?
Both countries, Egypt and Iraq, have developed great expertise in confronting terrorism.
Yes.
Iraq has successfully eradicated Daesh, and Egypt, of course, have played a great role in eradicating terrorism in Sinai and in many parts of the Arab world through lending its vision and expertise. But back to your very fundamental question that we need also to confront terrorism through culture, and capitals like Baghdad and Cairo are deep-rooted in their cultural and religious moderation where we have to confront terrorism. So it's not only through the security, though important, or military interventions, but also through culture, and most importantly, through economic endeavors and economic initiatives. You give opportunities to your people, particularly young people, so that they can find an opportunity in life. Otherwise, they will join radical groups and they will be definitely a victim of the radical groups in the region. I guess that Egypt and Iraq can play this very important role, and of course exchanging information and helping each other through channels of intelligence over the activities, which is supported by certain regional powers, will allow both countries to better confront and to lend expertise to other Arab countries so that we can eradicate terrorism not only politically and security-wise, but also through economic integration and availing opportunities to our young people.
Yes, Ambassador Mohamed Hegazy, the former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate. Up next, a report about the June 30th revolution and the economic aspects of it, the success of the June 30th revolution in regaining stability and security, more specifically the economic security and stability for Egypt and the region after the June 30th revolution. So let's see the upcoming report.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi this week urged the Economic Ministerial Group and Central Bank Governor Tariq Amir to continue taking the procedures required to maintain the stability of economic and monetary indications. The President discussed the details of the success of the second review of the economic reform program with the International Monetary Fund (IMF). Last week, the Executive Board of the IMF completed the second and final review of Egypt's economic reform program, allowing the authorities to draw about $1.7 billion. The decision brings total purchases to $5.4 billion, or 184.8% of quota, according to IMF statement. The World Lending Body added that Egypt responded to the COVID-19 crisis with timely and prudent fiscal and monetary easing, which helped mitigate the health and social impact while safeguarding economic stability, debt sustainability, and investor confidence. The IMF stated that Egypt's economic growth is expected to reach 2.8% in the fiscal year 2020-2021 and rebound strongly to 5.2% in the fiscal year 2021-2022. But the outlook remains clouded by uncertainty, while Egypt remains vulnerable to shocks due to the high public debt and gross financing needs.